I am muted. Okay.
There you go.
I leave my phone in there because I know it's going to look good. And I know exactly.
Okay.
All right, we are live.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Meeting notice for urban renewal agency meeting. And we're going to start the roll call. Chair, Sean Patterson Howard. Present. Vice Chair, Lisa A. Copeland.
Here.
Treasurer, Darren M. Morton.
Here.
Member, Brian G. Johnson.
Here.
Member, Deborah Reynolds.
Do we know what happened? She
She
asked
was
for a
sent-
Zoom.
She was sent a Zoom link and she was sent it twice. She was sent it yesterday and today she is not here. So we are going to proceed with the meeting.
Okay.
This will be meeting 36 that she has missed.
Okay, so we're going to go to the second number, which is the approval of the previous meeting minutes. Chair Patterson Howard, Sean Patterson Howard.
Well, we're looking at them real quick.
Oh, okay.
I remember October.
Welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting ID followed by pound. You entered 8745677789994. This meeting ID does not exist. Please re-enter your meeting ID followed by pound. Enter your participant ID followed by pound. Otherwise, you have entered the meeting as a panelist. Attendees can now hear you speak. This meeting is being recorded.
Okay. So we're going to move it more to the
Approval of previous meeting minutes.
I moved to approve the minutes of October 20th.
Yes, that's October 20th. Chair, Sean Patterson Howard.
First, we got a second.
Oh, okay.
second.
Yeah, second.
Okay. Okay. Vote. Okay, and Chair, Sean Patterson Howard.
Aye.
Vice Chair, Lisa A. Copeland.
Aye.
Treasurer, Darren M. Morton.
Aye.
Member, Brian G. Johnson.
Aye.
Member, Deborah Reynolds. Okay. And URA 2021 meeting dates approval.
Move to adopt the meeting dates for 2021.
So you notice on here, some of these have 2020, and I think they also speak 2021.
Yeah. So we have to amend April through December to read 2021.
Okay.
Move to adopt the dates with the necessary correction of 2020.
Second.
Roll call.
Chair, Sean Patterson Howard.
Aye.
Vice Chair, Lisa Copeland.
Aye.
Treasurer, Darren M. Morton.
Aye.
Member, Brian G. Johnson.
Aye.
Member Deborah Reynolds. Okay, Deborah's- Okay, number 4 is actually going to be the report of Deputy Executive Director. We'll be talking about CBDG, the CV updates, ESG. You want to go ahead? Okay. Okay.
All right, so thank you, Monica. CDBG CV update. So we have received an additional round of CDBG funds, round 3, which is approximately $700,000. And so we have gone ahead and amended our 2020 consolidated plan to include those funds in there. And we are allocating them to public infrastructure because we are looking to purchase 4 ambulances for the city. So those funds for round 3 will be used for to purchase 4 ambulances. I have also been in conversations with HUD to inform them of how we're looking to allocate those funds. So we're in the process of first, I have to put out a public notice for 5 days, which I will do in January. And I will also have a virtual public meeting to get input from the community. And then I will ensure that we take all the public comments into consideration. But I'm also simultaneously looking at designing this as well. So I've been in conversations with HUD about what we're looking to do, because this will help us address racial equity and health disparities in the city. So more to come there, but I just wanted to let you know where we are in this process and that we have amended our consolidated plan. I will send that out so you can see our final consolidated plan with those funds. And I have an electronic version, and we will go ahead and post it on our city website. So that is the latest version. That includes round 3. We are also looking at, and we will need to have a meeting there with you and others in the city, across city agencies, to talk about also how we're going to allocate some of our funds for public service. I know it is your intent that we make sure that we are responsive to the needs of the citizens of the city to address as a result of the pandemic. And so we will need to have conversations about that, since we're looking at food as one of those items because of the great need in the city and growing need, not only here, but all across the country. But specifically for us, how we're going to design that and what innovative programs we want to launch as a result. And we also want to make sure we leverage other programs like SNAP and make sure that we increase the number of residents in the city who are eligible who sign up for the SNAP program as well. So we'll need to look at, my recommendation is we look at not only our HUD funds, but other federal programs and leverage them, and also partner with philanthropic organizations so that we can do more with these funds to meet the growing needs of the city. I have, as you all know, I have given you a report. We had allocated $125,000 to Feeding Westchester, which is a food bank for the county. And with those funds, we were doing a couple of things. One of them is the backpack program, which was to provide nutritious meals to children in the city. We had the Mount Vernon Boys and Girls Club was one of those locations. As a result of the pandemic, they had to pivot, and so what Feeding Westchester did was they went and partnered with DoorDash, who delivered meals to children in the city in need. So instead of having one specific location, they went door to door and dropped off food to children in the city. So they were able to feed more children as a result of using that. We also gave them funds for the mobile food pantry, a senior grocer program, the fresh market program, and the food distribution program that Shane leads in the city every, what, week?
3 times a month.
3 times a month. And so with that $125,000, we were able to provide meals to 718,000 pounds of food to residents of the city, which is the equivalent of $1.5 million. So that $125,000 we leveraged with other resources through the food bank which is the equivalent of $1.5 million. So that is a lot of people with 718,000 pounds of meals for residents of the city. And I have given you an overview, and I've also on the couple of other pages that you have here shows you from February to November, the sites for the backpack program, the sites for Fresh Market, the sites for mobile food pantry, and senior grocer program, and the food pantry. So we have 13 food pantries in here, and a hot meal program at, run by CSA. So they were all there. So you have a list of everyone, every location in the city that food was delivered to. So our money went strictly to food, to feed residents in the city. It did not go to pay salaries or any administrative items except for utilities, which was about $7,000. But again, we're talking about 718,000 pounds of food, which is huge. And so we've been one of the ones leading in the county on these programs, and others are looking at how we do it and replicate it. But we're also looking at how we can continue to be innovative. Any questions on the food bank? And they are an excellent partner. They do wonderful programming, and they deliver meals not only here but all across the county. And Shane, I don't know if you want to say anything while you're here, because you have been the one leading this program here in the city in terms of the food distribution that is taking place at the Dole Center. And so I don't know if there's anything else you want to add.
Not much. I just want to say that, Feeding Westchester has been a great partner. I believe it's going on 5 years now. They stuck with us. They're one of the few agencies that stuck with the city through thick and thin. And they don't deliver when they say that they're going to deliver. So I just hope that we can strengthen this partnership and do much greater things.
And then when is the next food distribution?
The next food distribution is this Friday at 3:30 at the Dole Center, 250 South 6th Avenue.
So this Friday at 3:30 at the Dole Center, so you can receive produce.
You can receive produce, non-perishables, and we also have one this coming Monday, which Feeding Westchester already allocated some USDA meats. So this is for the holidays, and we also have a donation coming from Fresh Direct on the 21st, that Monday.
So Friday is the fresh produce and
Yes.
perishables at the Dole Center at what time?
At 3:30.
At 3:30, and on Monday is.
At Monday, we're moving the initial, for Monday's distribution, we are moving the start time from 12 o'clock to 3:30, just to give our volunteers and staff enough time to bag the produce and goods, so the wait time on the lines will be shorter. And on that Monday, we will be giving out meat, turkeys, and other types of meat from Feeding Westchester.
Thank you.
Now, where is that also going to be at the Dole Center?
Yes, at the Dole Center as well.
And the time of that is going to be?
The Monday's,
We're gonna have a flyer.
yes, the Monday's distribution is at 3:30. So Friday's distribution is at 3:30, and Monday's distribution is at 3:30.
And you're going to have a flyer, or do you have one already?
Yes, there's a flyer already.
Both are adults.
Both are at the Dole Center.
Okay, and so we have this posted on our city website, is that correct?
I believe so.
Okay, we'll double check that. So
It's on all social media platforms.
Okay. So thank you, Shane, for your leadership and that of the Recreation Department, who has really been leading on these efforts. And I also want to let folks know that we have used our CDBG funds to ensure that we feed residents of the city. It is incredibly important to the mayor and to the city council that we ensure that our folks are provided nutritious meals in the city. And we're doing everything we can to be responsive. There's more to come. We're looking to do more innovative programs. We're looking to partner with HUD and USDA and look at foundations to do more so that we can be sustainable. And we're looking to also partner with our restaurants so that they can prepare meals, and then we can use our federal funds to cover the cost of the restaurants paying these meals and then providing it to low-income residents of the city. So we're gonna talk internally how we develop this. There are other places in the country that have done it, have come to find out. California has been leading the way. Governor Newsom has done an amazing initiative, and so we may look at how we can do something that makes sense for us here in Mount Vernon.
Thank you.
More to come.
I mean, as we know, food insecurity has always been an issue, but in these times of COVID with decreased income and with children staying home and not getting their 2 meals a day in school, that's an increased expense on behalf of the parents and families. So continuing to lift and expand our focus around food insecurity here in Mount Vernon and to ensure that our children, our adults, and our seniors are being fed is critical. So thank you for the work that you're doing and, you know, all of the expanded efforts and partnerships that you're securing to allow us to continue and to expand the work.
ESG updates. So we have released on November 1st the ESG application, and we have about 1.6 million in ESG COVID funds, and we have approximately 135,000 in annual funds that we want to make sure are allocated to address needs of the homeless and those who are at risk of homelessness in the city. The applications were due December 8th, and they were submitted via Dropbox. And you have a list of all of the applicants. So there were 7 applications, and you have that. I provided that to you. And we are going to have a review panel review and score the applications. What I'd like to do then is, once we receive that, have city staff review them from a racial equity component. And so once we have made decisions on the subrecipients, to ensure that we include a racial equity requirement in our contract agreements. So one of the priorities of HUD is that we look at racial equity when it comes to these funds. We're one of the few jurisdictions across the country that are really taking this seriously and being innovative when it comes to that. We have received applications for homeless prevention, so providing legal services to those who are at risk of homelessness. We received applications for youth homeless, so we have unaccompanied youth and homeless youth who are part of the school district. So we're looking to address those needs, street outreach, and also rapid rehousing. So you have what we have received, and the total funding request is over $2 million. So
So we have 1.6 to give out, is that correct?
1.7.
1.6.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. So I just wanted to make sure that you all know where we are, and then we will, in January, my goal is to have our January meeting discuss the scoring of the applications and where we are and how we'd like to move forward, so that we can have contract agreements in place so that organizations can begin this work in February. We have 2 years. We have through September 22nd, 2022 to spend these funds. I anticipate, because of the need and all of the different types of programs we may look to do, which is rapid rehousing, homeless prevention, street outreach, legal services, that we could probably spend all these monies in the upcoming year. Any questions? And the other thing too is we have identified someone for the Director of Homeless Services, so we can have that conversation afterwards, since it's a personnel matter. And I will make that resume available. And that person would really help us ensure that we are in compliance, because it is $1.8 million. There's going to be a lot of regulatory programmatic compliance requirements. It is our first year receiving these funds. We haven't received these funds since 2010. So we're putting together everything from scratch. And so the compliance piece is going to be important. And we have identified someone who has experience with federal funds and the financial and programmatic compliance requirements. So I'd like to have that conversation at a later date.
I definitely want to say congratulations to the Urban Renewal Agency staff. As you just stated, we have not received emergency ESG emergency supplemental grants from HUD since 2010. That is 10 years that Mount Vernon is an entitlement community. It has not gotten our share. And I know a lot of that has to do with former compliance issues and lack of compliance. And so the work that has been done, by you and others within your department, including our Commissioner Morton, who is now our Chief Morton, and those who partner with you, Raj, and the financial team, has been outstanding. And HUD is recognizing and expanding and putting us back on the rolls of ESG. So to go from zero funding in 10 years under ESG to $1.8 million, even though we know some of it came through COVID, the fact that we are even considered for this money again during this time is definitely a feather in your cap. And thank you for also being diligent in ensuring that we identify the right people to run this program and to ensure that everything is being set up. As you said, we haven't done it in 10 years. And so as we have to lay a new foundation and build there upon it, we want to make sure that we're doing it right so that all of our compliance points are hit. And this will definitely be a boost to our community as rapid rehousing, emergency shelter, street outreach, and working with the school district around homeless services are just so critically important.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we probably are going to be the only ones in the county that I'm aware of who will be funding youth homelessness. And we're also looking at funding the needs of those who are doubled up, which we can do with these funds. So I'm not aware of anyone else doing that, but so we're going to be leading the way. So it is going to be very important that we are successful so that others then can do that as well. The Tda Contract Agreement. So we have one more year with them, and then we will have to release an RFP in the following years. Because we did a 3-year RFP, and so this is our final year. I have given you a large Excel spreadsheet, and with all the different things. And one of the things I like to do is I don't like revisiting things. So I like to assume we're not going to spend all the monies that are in here, and we're not going to spend all these hours. But what I like to do is be able to pivot quickly when we need to, so that we don't have to be amending contracts. We don't need to be wasting time on that. When I did the consulting agreement for our COC programs, I had allocated more than I thought I needed. So instead of $20,000, we have spent $2,000. I anticipate we will only spend a third of what I'm asking for, but I need to make sure that we're able to pivot and not have to rewrite and amend contract agreements and come up to you, because I'm only a team of one. But this way, anything that I can possibly think of, I put in here. We're not going to need all these hours, and we're not going to be spending all this money, but I wanted to have it just in case if we're not amending agreements.
It's better to have it allocated than to have to go back, waste time. Again, as I said, Mount Vernon over the years has struggled to be in strict compliance with the expanded regulations that HUD has added. And so, as we know, you said we have really a committee of staff of one to do this work. And so working with TDA, which are national consultants, and who help provide technical assistance to some of the best run HUD-funded programs across the country. It's great to have them as partners. And again, that's why we are receiving expanded funding from HUD, and HUD has much greater confidence in the city of Mount Vernon and the Urban Renewal Agency than they did in times past.
We have a very, so for the public listening to this, it is important you understand we have a very positive and strong relationship with HUD. Mm-hmm. We had them come in here for 9 days, August of 2018, is that? I think it was August of 2018. They spent 9 days with us, and there were no findings in terms of our programmatic compliance, meeting our programmatic compliance requirements. There were findings that were outside of the control of the URA, which were finance related because of our internal challenges. But in terms of our programmatic and how we do it and how we document, there were no findings.
Well, let's be clear, because you're being very judicious right now. There were findings based on the fact that the controller was sending money back to HUD that HUD had authorized and approved and sent to us. That's what the findings were. And HUD finds that to be incredible. And it's something that honestly the administrators say that they haven't seen in decades and they didn't understand as to why it was happening. So we just have to be very clear when we talk about what the findings were so that a different narrative cannot be set.
So that, I don't know if there's any questions for me, but again, we're not going to spend all of this, maybe a third at best.
So I think,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
Now, I forgot, the folks who identified on here are through,
PDA.
Okay, that was.
Okay, so one, I think we need to, because I don't have the contract, and the contract's not included in the packet.
I have it, but I'm going to have legal review it for our city corporate council requirements, so I have that.
So we're gonna have to, then we'll have to come back here to approve the contract,
Okay.
right? Because once that's done, then this board has gotta make sure that it is approved, it knows what it's approving. And I see it here, but we gotta make sure we got the details. That's one. Two is, I would then change the resolution a little bit, only because the resolution, in a very definitive way, says that the exhibits, the tasks that are on the exhibit A is what pretty much is going to be done. And what I'm hearing you say is that may not be, this may be the extent, meaning the
scope.
the scope of it totally, meaning,
As
but it
needed.
may change, right? But it may change. So I want to make sure that the wording is there, that the scope of work can be very well adjusted in accordance with the administrative staff, right? Because we want to make sure we give room for it. Because otherwise, somebody will come back somewhere along the line and say, this is what y'all approved to get them, but it didn't get them, right? Because it's on the document, right? So I just want to make sure we include in this, the wording of that it is up to, may be all of this, but maybe you gotta give some room for the administrator to be able to make that adjustment as necessary. I'm not sure if the wording is the
Okay, so, all right.
That's a good point, yeah.
Huh?
Good, great point.
Yeah, I mean, because, it says it's, there's like the third whereas, is whereas exercise fiduciary responsibility, determine, the necessary to, performance of the following described functions. You give it A, right? So I articulated that it may not be all of it, that's not what the resolution itself says. So we wanna figure out some wording in here for that, and I don't know, Brian, I'm kind of looking at you for
Yes.
when we get to the resolution, that is inserted.
Okay, so I'll work with our corporation council on that. Our contract expires the 31st of December, so my goal is if we can get this resolved sooner, but we can talk about it afterwards.
Yeah, no, I think so, absolutely, I think we can. It's just that we may have to call a special meeting to adopt the contract itself, and this, and this, just a single item. But I want it to be right, rather than for somebody to say later on, because let's be, if I'm being transparent, let's be clear. One of the criticisms that this agency got around previous home loans that was issued out was that the resolution said one thing, but then contracts looked as if it said something else. And I don't want to be in that position again.
That's fine.
Okay?
And one of the reasons we've been using our TDA is because we've had to do a lot of cleanup of our home loans. And when we're still doing that. So one of the things we were able to do is this LaPorte project, we were able to finally complete it in the HUD system. And we addressed all of their compliance requirements that were not done in the past. So we've had to go back and spend a lot of time around these home loans that we needed to clean up the compliance around. So we've been, for the past 2 years, dealing with all of the stuff from the past that goes back a decade or two. And now we want to be able to move forward with what we want to do with the current funds that we have. So I will meet with Corporation Counsel and his staff, and we will get this done, and then we will bring it back to you. Thank you. And then MGI initiative. So there is the Mayors for Guaranteed Income. It's a network of mayors advocating for a monthly payment to go to individuals. And then last Thursday, Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter, has donated $15 million to a coalition of 29 mayors across the country to test out the Guaranteed Income Initiative. Our mayor has took the lead, and we are one of the cities that have been selected for this initiative. And we're going to be working very closely with our counterparts, with the mayor's counterparts, and we're going to launch our own initiative here. And we're in the process of designing it, and we're hoping to launch that January, February. And Mayor, is there anything you'd like to add? Because we really spearheaded this, and we are just cutting edge and innovative, and one of the few cities that is participating in this program.
Yes, so as Sylvia said, the city of Mount Vernon is one of 29 communities across the country that is participating in Mayors for Guaranteed Income. We received initial seed funding and may be receiving expanded seed funding for this initiative. And the focus is working with families impacted by COVID, provide them with $500 a month for the next 12 months to assist them. Well, we're really giving them the money, and then they can identify how it needs to be best used. Many, I know, will use it for rent, will use it for food, will use it for childcare, transportation, utilities. In the past, many programs have focused on paying the money directly to the landlord or buying food. This gives dignity and honor back to those who need it. Just because people need a hand up does not mean that they do not know how to manage the money and pay the bills for themselves. It just means that they are short on resources, and we are helping to fill that gap. Clearly, $6,000 a year is not going to solve everyone's issues, but I'm sure that anyone around the table, regardless of how much we make, say that $500 could help us definitely deal with some of the increased pressures or the reduction in income that we are receiving. Like we said again, this is definitely about financial assistance, but it's also restoring dignity to those who have often had to constantly ask for help instead of receive support from their community.
Doing that, what's the process and the criteria to apply for the program?
We are establishing that process and that criteria. We would love the input from the council to sit down. We are looking really to work with some of our families who are in the shelter system, who might need, there are many people here in Westchester. I think, 25% of the population is African American, 68% of the shelter population is African American, and we know that African Americans tend to stay in the shelter system in Westchester months longer. Years ago, when I ran a program, we did shower rent assistance, and that extra $200 to $500 a month that we gave families really was the gap funding that was needed to keep people out of the shelter system. And I'm sure there are families that are living in the shelter system right now who this $500 could bring them out of the shelter and stabilize them in housing. And so we look to work with them. We're also looking to work with those who work maybe in the, who are our working class poor, again, who are struggling to stabilize themselves and move forward. We also have a very large personal care industry here in Mount Vernon, where we have a lot of people who are working in barbershops and beauty salons. They're braiding hair, nail salons. And, when you kind of are that independent contractor, and work off the books. You're not always eligible for unemployment and some of the other governmental programs that are out there. And so we want to make sure that we're also targeting them. We want to target the people who usually don't receive that assistance and may not be eligible for other assistance, really to help meet the gap needs. We will complete establishing that criteria. We will announce the distribution of the applications. People can go online. We will announce that date. When those applications come in, we will review them and ensure that they meet our criteria. And I'm sure we'll get more applications than we have money. And from there, we will do a lottery process, because once we identify the eligible applications, we want to make sure that there's no bias involved. Once we have deemed that these individuals and these families are eligible for the program, we want to then move on to a lottery process to ensure that there is full fairness in choosing the families to become a part. The other thing that we'll be providing to those families is, because we also are a CFE community, and we're going to talk about that.
Okay, Monica talked about it.
So that's next on the agenda, but we will be connecting them to our communities for financial empowerment initiative, which will help them identify additional resources, financial and or otherwise, to help them get through this COVID crisis. As COVID is not over, we are still in the COVID environment, and I anticipate us being in it for at least another year or so, especially the impact on the economy. And so we will provide additional support. So MGI, the money, and communities for financial empowerment, providing them with the counseling and a financial navigator to assist them. And we'll let Monica talk more about that program. But this is definitely a way to enhance the stability of our residents, the dignity of our residents, and provide for financial empowerment and improve and expand their competencies around money management and independence.
The Financial Navigator program is amazing. It's equivalent to the 211-311 program, but they focus more so on the finances piece. We are in partnership with Urban League. We have 2 financial navigators plus 3, and we have a number that's actually available to the city, as well as the information is on the city's website. The Financial Navigators program is designed to help residents deal with the financial impact of COVID-19 pandemic, providing remote assistance in navigating critical financial issues and making referrals to other social services and resources. So we have the trained navigators. We have, in reference to a lot of the partnerships that we have actually created, it's with banks, it's with the housing program, it's with SNAP. We have WRO that's on the program as well. So it's a wonderful tool, and we will make sure that we have all the communication out to the community on all social media platforms, billboards. We are really going to make sure that the community is aware of it, so we can get the message out and engage the community with this. Oh, the number is 914-222-8615. 914-222-8615.
So, I have a question. Is there a maximum amount of people who can participate in the program?
So it'll be based on the funding. Right now, we are planning for about 75 families. That's what we're working to budget, 50 to 75 families.
For MGI.
For MGI. And we are waiting to hear about an opportunity for expanded funding based on the additional monies that was donated to the National MGI Initiative. So, I mean, I would love to be able to launch this with 100 families. I think that would be great, but if we're able, it's the cost of 16 families is about $100,000 a piece. So we would need about what, $650,000, $700,000 to serve.
Yeah, so if we do 100 families at 18 months, let's just say, some cities are doing 24 months, but if we're looking at 18 months, we would need $900,000. So.
And if we did 100 families at 12 months, then we would need $600,000.
Right.
So
So somewhere between 600 and 900,000 is what we're looking at. Again, we're still designing it, but it would be great to get input from the city council and others so that, as we're designing this.
And I think it's important to say, because people have had a question with government being in such lean economic times, why would we do something like this? This is not monies that we're looking to put on the taxpayer of Mount Vernon. These are federal funds, these are philanthropic funds, and we'll also look to tap into some of our corporations for corporate social responsibility partnerships, public-private partnerships, to do and expand this work. Why corporations? Because when businesses have employees who are housed stably, who could get to work because they have good transportation, who have stable child care, then it makes them to be a better employee. It provides them with a more stable employee. And so we feel this is something also that would appeal to corporations in partnering with them.
And the reality is, we still don't have another economic stimulus bill that has been passed. It is still being negotiated. We don't know what that's going to look like and when that will be able to move forward. In the meantime, we have an economic fallout and people are hurting, so we're trying to respond to that need. Obviously, we can't meet the needs of all of the residents in the city, but we are at least pushing that conversation so that we can have discussions at a later date, what the role of the federal government could be, and especially in times of crises. So, more to come. And then on the Financial Navigator initiative, what's important is for residents to call that number. If you have issues with rent, if you have issues with student loans, if you need resources because of what's happening now as a result of COVID and you are hurting financially, call this number and they will help you by identifying resources that you can tap into. That is the purpose of this, because we know people are hurting. And so if you owe 4 months of rent, there are organizations right now through Financial Navigators that we can make sure that you are aware of, and so that you can then reach out to them and they can provide assistance. So that is the purpose. It's kind of like a 211 or a 311, as Monica has indicated, and they will provide you with financial resources, especially right now. So we encourage you to reach out. And Monica, has spent a lot of time on this initiative, helping put it together from scratch, and working with Urban League, and they are wonderful partners, a joy to work with. They're committed to addressing the needs of those who have been underserved for so long. So we're really lucky and fortunate to have such a good partnership, such good partners to work with.
And this is important, and I'm going to keep this short. We call it Financial Navigators, and when you think of navigation, you think of like the GPS. Just like when we lose our way in our car, we're trying to figure out the best way to get from point A to B because there are so many different options that we may not know about. This is the same thing with Financial Navigators. Westchester Residential Opportunities, DSS, Legal Services of the Hudson Valley. There are rolling deadlines. There are new programs that are coming out through the state, the county, the federal government, and people are constantly asking, what can I access? What am I eligible for? How do I hear about these programs? So instead of, like you said, it's a 211, 311 system, instead of you having to check 10, 15 websites and constantly find out what they're doing, this is what the Financial Navigators are doing. They are experts in what is available, and they can help you access those resources and point you in the right direction. So use them as that GPS to help you during these economically difficult times, so that people can be eligible. The county right now has millions of dollars that they have set aside and allocated for emergency rent eviction prevention, as well as foreclosure prevention. And right now they're having a hard time getting this money to the people who need it most, because A, so many people don't know about it, and then B, when people hear about it, or finally research it, by the time they apply, it's almost too late. So please, please, please take advantage of utilizing the financial navigators. We'll bring you on so that we can do some of a segment on this, so people know instead of calling 10 places, they can call one place to get to 10 places.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And then the final item is 25 Monroe Street. So that, we had allocated $337,200 in home funds and $37,600 in CDBG program income funds for the acquisition and rehab of a property, 25 Monroe Street. And that house, once it's completed, will provide an opportunity for 2 low-income residents to rent, because there's going to be 2 apartments in that house. And so my goal is that we work with ACE, who is Chodo, who's working on this, to complete that in the next 3 months. You have a copy of the letter and a copy of the check that shows they paid taxes, but it has not been acknowledged by our finance office. And so
It's been cashed by our finance office based on the cancellation on the back of the check. So it's been cashed and it's been received by the controller's office. It has not been credited to the property owner's account.
correct. So there's that issue that they are trying to resolve, but I wanted to make you aware of that. In addition, they are a nonprofit housing development organization, and they are hurting right now, and they're asking us to consider a tax abatement for this year and next year, so that they can focus on renting the property to 2 low-income residents of the city. I'm just letting you know about that now. We can have discussions about it later, but I wanted to let you know because we have 2 issues. One, this hasn't been credited to the financial challenges right now of our nonprofits who have been hurt, and they're looking for us to consider a tax abatement.
Okay. Thank you.
So those are my updates. I don't know if there are any questions for me.
None at this time.
So now we're going to have our treasurer's report from Treasurer Darren and Martin.
You all have the reports before you. Basically, what you have is, you have a cash accounts report. That's basically what that is. Show you all the various cash accounts, with the amount of money, the balances in them as of November 30th. So the revolving account, there is $35,633.82. That is the account which most of our funds come in, and then it is redispersed out to the appropriate program account. Then you have your basic program accounts, which are the community development program, which is $79,538.13. The CDBG program income account, and that is $68,747.93. And also home program income admin, $71.48. There's no money in CDBG program income admin. And mostly you should note that that is because for several months we've been actually paying any of the staff salaries out of that account because we've not actually been we had not been receiving the money from HUD, through the city's finance office. Then you have, of course, the general account, $83,754.92, which is basically your general account that that's the more unrestricted that we actually utilize for various accounts. In that account, though, now I believe there's also funding that is related to the foundation money that we have received to help as we've been helping folks who have been homeless or preventing homeless. Then you got your home local trust account, 362, 314, 27, shallow rent, COC, which of course, those are the places where we pay, the monthly rents for those that are in our COC program, 33,077. The zone, list zombie grant, there's a grant funding, as of the 30th, there was 30,875 and 16 cents. And then of course the the DEC engineering planning grant, which is related to our sewer repairs, 410,482. And then cities rise, right, which is our code enforcement initiative to improve our code enforcement, and the money that came from the New York AG's office for Mount Vernon, some of which you already just heard earlier, 362,000 of that money is going to be transferred to the city for 3 positions to move that initiative forward, right? And that's to cover salary and benefits for 2021. So in that account currently is 570,980 and 95 cents. Now, that means totally in cash accounts is 1,376,229 and 43 cents. All right. While I'm saying that, and then I'll have open for questions around the accounts. One, remembering most of this stuff is actually restricted to the program purpose. So while we hear over $1 million, not over $1 million just to be doing anything, it has very specific purposes in which it has to be used, whether that is through compliance of federal government or through compliance of a funder, who may be a not-for-profit funder, such as the foundation, or it may be through a state agency, such as the AG's office, or a collaborative with, like Cities Rise, with the AG's office and the Ash Center, Harvard, so forth and so on. Here's what I want the board to note and the community to note. We oftentimes spend an exorbitant amount of time talking about HUD funds. But URA is not in its totality HUD. It has other initiatives that also, and that it has been providing support to the city to provide, to get these fundings, these grant fundings, to be able to alleviate some of the burden on the taxpayers, right? And ensure that the city is not paying. However, because the agency is in collaboration with the city, some of those funds have to go back and forth between the agency and the city, right? And so therefore, like with the staffing, they need to be city employees, but we're gonna provide the money for the funding and for the benefits for them to do that the first year. Now, granted, as with any grant program, money eventually does run out. So the city, in a forward-thinking manner, has to think about what will happen if these, when and if these funds go away in these various accounts, these various grant programs, right? Because the service won't go away. The need for the service will go away. So it's a matter of future planning out, right? Which we are in good partnership with our city council. We seek to be in good partnership with our comptroller's office to be able to make sure that this actually is done. So you should expect to see the public, the elected, should expect to see that many positions will show up in the 2021 budget related to planning. But you should also expect to see that there will also be a notation in revenue to balance that out. So I want to make sure everybody is clear, because we have to put them in the budget, and we have to also, on both sides, the expense and the revenue side, so that, again, it can be part of the salary resolution, so that the comptroller's office, the payroll office will process them as employees. I'm sure there's gonna be questions, I'll take them in a moment. Grant funding, I think I already told you about that, not going beyond just HUD. The last thing is, while there are cash counts, there also are accounts payable and there are accounts receivable. The accounts payable include the things that I've been reporting for quite some time. We're trying to work out a deal, of course, with the New York State and the insurance, as well as what we're going to do with the rapid retirement, all related to our retirees, right? And now you will notice, based upon the amount that's in your packet, that that sum has now come up to $694,438.39, inclusive of all the insurance, the retirement, and also the Medicare that are outstanding. And this ranges again from 2015 all the way up to present, right? As to what is happening. The council asked that I would reach out to the state to begin to have a discussion about a payment plan, some sort of arrangement. We are in conversation about that. Again, you know, things are slow because of COVID, but I want you to know that I did not forget about that. Accounts receivables, you will notice those based upon the amount of money that you have listed that is still, that right now is in what has been deposited with the city of Mount Vernon via the finance office, the comptroller's office. We will be sending a communication this week in accordance to what we were directed by court action to do and follow the procedures, the steps as were outlined, and see if we can then receive those monies that have been drawn down. All right. And I think that is $446,940.15, which we will then, we will send that communication this week, to the comptroller. I think that might be all that I have at this moment as it pertains to the finance report. Questions?
So for clarification, we still have on here $102,000, $379.28 that HUD has requested that the city of Mount Vernon, through the controller's office, return to HUD. The deadline for that return of those monies is when?
You know, the grant closed October 31st for a number of these, and then there are two here where we're the direct recipients, where we are the ones who oversee that are due at the end of the month in terms of the grant closeouts.
Mm-hmm.
So we are behind in 3 of the grants, providing all of the documentation to close them out to HUD. We're way behind because those close October 29th.
But separately from reporting, because we can't close out the grants until these monies are returned.
Correct.
We've already paid out the money
We haven't.
we are responsible for these vendors and paying these vendors.
Correct.
And if the controller does not send the money back, and if we cannot properly close out these grants, it does not mean that we're not still responsible for this $102,000. It just means that HUD will not pay for it because we have not been able to keep up with compliance because the controller, A, sent the money back, and then now that we went through the process of becoming the funder, she continues to hold on to this $102,000.
So that's the other thing the public needs to understand. As per the controller's request, the city is no longer the grantee of these COC programs, which these funds are used to address the needs of the homeless and disabled in our city. There are 59 individuals who are funded with the $1 million that we now receive.
And including veterans.
Including veterans. And so now the URA is the grantee. So the city is no longer involved, so those funds really should go back to HUD for the URA then to sort out with HUD directly.
And I do believe HUD did request those monies to come back, and that deadline has passed.
Correct.
Okay. And it is these things that can put us at risk for losing this money totally.
Correct.
Correct. Well, and also with the COC programs, we partner with the county. The county is the lead applicant. They receive $18 million on an annual basis, and we are part of that application process. So we don't want to hurt the county in the process.
Right, because properly operating the program programmatically and financially are things that are scored in the national competition for which the county is the lead applicant. And we do not want to be responsible. This is $18 million that comes into the county each year for homeless services. And oftentimes this competition, we get in based on quarter of a point. Literally, everyone from around the country. This is not entitlement money. This is competitive grant funds. And so a quarter of a point could put at risk the entire $18 million that's coming into the county. Or the county can decide that they don't want us to be part of their application, which would make it much more difficult for us to even get these funds on our own. So we have to make sure that we are pressing the controller to send this money back to HUD as they requested, so it can be reallocated, redrawn down through the Urban Renewal Agency. We can pay these bills and we can close out these reports and stay in compliance.
And when HUD came and audited us and spent 3 days on the COC and on CDBG and on home, on the COC, there were no findings. And we actually got a letter saying there were no findings, which means that we are doing everything the way we need to be doing it to be in compliance. We also, as a city, have a very good and strong relationship with the county and the Westchester County Partnership to End Homelessness. So we're doing everything we need to do on our end.
And so I just want to also finally,
You haven't gotten?
so we drew down the money.
Right.
The controller sent, so on the second set, so on COC, we've drawn down the money. She sent money back, we redrew the money. So wherever you see redrawn means that the Urban Renewal Agency provided HUD with all of the required documentation for HUD to distribute the funds to the city of Mount Vernon. HUD sent the funds to the city of Mount Vernon via the controller's office, and the controller's office sent the money back to HUD. And then the Urban Renewal Agency would have to go in again and do double the work and process these vouchers again to send the money back to HUD. HUD did send the money back to the city again for a second time. And we have right now, between first drawdown and second drawdown, another $446,940.15. Unfortunately, the narrative that the controller paints to these vendors, which are our students who are in college through the Mayor Scholarship Program, My Sister's Place, which is a domestic violence support services, the Guidance Center of Westchester, who we partner with on construction trade, the Youth Bureau that provides youth workforce experience, Upon This Rock Ministries, which works with our individuals who are reentering the community from incarceration. Just make sure, see if there's any other. I think so. Oh, and food distribution of $48,735. These are the programs that are being hurt. The controller actually told one of the vendors last week that we're not doing our paperwork. We could not have received the monies from HUD if we did not process their claims. The problem is, for months, we've been asking for, requesting, and trying to get meetings with the controller so that we could submit this paperwork to her, so that we can process these funds and be paid. She continuously does not accept appointments and go. So now we are going again, and unfortunately now, at great cost to the city, trying to do some of this work. We've been trying to do it independently, we will try and do it again independently, and if it doesn't work, we'll have to go to attorneys to submit documents to a controller who is downstairs and within the building. So thank you so much for not only doing the work once, but doing it twice, and now making continued attempts and efforts to get the controller to accept the documents so that our vendors who have already done the work can be paid.
Well, and particularly with organizations like My Sister's Place, we have seen an uptick in the domestic violence in the city as a result of what is happening. And so I cannot fund these, an organization like My Sister's Place, which does excellent work and helps so many families in the city. I can't fund them, and I can't provide those funds to help residents of the city who are experiencing domestic violence. And so it is heartbreaking that we can't do that, because we now have organizations that will not work with us until we sort this out, and I can't blame them, but we cannot fund these programs that we want to fund to help the needs of the residents of the city until we sort this out.
And it's not only domestic violence that we're not able to fund, it's some of our food programs that we're struggling to repay. It is students who are in college who are waiting on scholarship money to come from the city of Mount Vernon so that they can continue their education. It is young people and adults who, through partnerships with the Youth Bureau and the Guidance Center of Westchester, where in these economic times where people are needing to increase their skills to be more competitive at work, or change skills to look at emerging job markets, where we cannot pay our partners to offer these programs to our residents. And that's just what's here. But it's also several $1 million in monies that we just spoke about for ESG and other programs that she is trying to make it very difficult to come into the city. She said back on January 17th in a letter that she sent to HUD that she did not want to receive HUD monies through her office on behalf of the city of Mount Vernon. We have worked with the city council over the past few months to establish an escrow account so that those monies can be sent to the city of Mount Vernon via that escrow account. And she is even challenging that escrow account. And if she is successful in getting that escrow account closed, then the millions of monies that we are receiving from HUD through the CARES Act, which identifies and addresses the needs of our community, especially as it relates to COVID, those programs will go unfulfilled. These monies have to be sent. There is a time limit that we have to spend these monies. It's not even just about spending the money. The people, these are urgent needs. These are for our ambulances, potentially a mobile unit for the police department. We're talking about food programs, emergency shelter grants, eviction prevention monies, monies for food insecurity and to provide feeding programs. So we don't have time to toy around with rules that change in her office every day. The needs are urgent, they're persistent, and we have the funds available in our federal HUD account to address these needs. Many communities are months ahead of us because they have competent and agreeable financial management in their city who will work with them so that they can draw these funds down and get them out to the community. So Mount Vernon, unfortunately, some of our assistance has been delayed because we do not have a partner who will work with us around getting these funds to you. Like we said, she requested that we provide an alternate way of bringing the monies into the city. We have done that ethically and legally in working with the city council, and she is even challenging that now, but we will continue to press forward as we have seen the light at the end of the tunnel, and we are not going to retreat because the people of Mount Vernon need this support. It has been allocated to our federal government in partnership with our federal electeds, and we are here and we are determined to make sure that the assistance that has been allocated for Mount Vernon reaches our residents. So thank you.
Well, and then you do have good news. You do have a ladder truck and you can.
Yes, we were able to get our ladder truck delivered about 2 weeks ago. They had training on this past Friday. Pierce, the manufacturers of the ladder truck, did come to Mount Vernon and provide training, and we are just waiting for the final insurance documents so that we can get it on the road. We still are partnering with the New York City Fire Department, and we are borrowing one of their ladder trucks. And, you know, these trucks were needed last week when we experienced two major house fires that devastated homes on Prospect Avenue and on 9th Avenue. And, you know, without having the proper fire equipment to do the work, we would have seen additional loss of homes and potentially additional loss of life. And so thank you, HUD, thank you, Urban Renewal Agency, thank you, City Council, for working with us to ensure that these funds come into Mount Vernon to provide the supports and the needs that right now we don't have the tax base to do. Because everything that everyone has heard about here in this meeting today is being done out, you know, through federal and state funds and other things and philanthropic funds, and is not at the cost of the taxpayer, not one dime of it. And would we lose these things, it doesn't mean that we are not responsible for continuing to buy equipment and provide these services to our constituents. We would have to find another way to do it when a way already exists and is fully funded. So thank you.
Okay. Number 6, resolutions. Resolutions 2020.
Cover code enforcement homes? Cover that?
In general, I did. I mean, when I talked about the 362,000, but, yeah, so the code enforcement officers, the code enforcement officer, the, code enforcement manager, and the, attorney will all be hired for January 1. So I will go on the record, that I did actually have a conversation with the comptroller about this when we originally were looking at hiring them for this fiscal year. And I got instruction from her as to how to present the information to her office with the salary resolution and the actual documentation about the grant and the RPCs. After reviewing it, because of the complexity of it, it made better sense for us to just look at starting it in alignment with the fiscal year. So instead of giving 2 different payments for 2 different years and confusing it, we're just going to do the one for 2020-21, right? 2021 for all of them, which is why I was saying you should expect to see those as part of the budget, expect to see those as part of the salary resolutions for 2021, in which we will then make sure that the city of Mount Vernon has the money. Clear note, 362,000, whatever the rest of the numbers are, will be deposited with the comptroller's office for the salary and the benefits for those 3 positions ahead of time. So it's not reimbursable. The money is going to already be with the city for them as they work throughout the year. We can reconcile everything else at the end or towards the end as we go along.
And again, these are critical funds granted to us through the New York State Attorney General's office for code enforcement and compliance, and then also to provide an attorney to work with our housing court to advocate on behalf of our residents in dealing with the landlords who might have violations and to clear those up. So we will be able to more fully serve the residents and begin to see compliance and enforcement around housing codes and violations of city ordinances, which will protect the residents of Mount Vernon. Thank you.
Okay, number 6, resolutions. Resolutions 2020-019. Resolution authorizing the agency to extend technical assistance contract for Tda Consulting, Inc. Chair, Sean Patterson.
I thought that-
We're pulling that
Yeah, we're pulling that one.
Okay.
So we can work on the order.
All right, awesome. D, resolution number 2020-20, a resolution amending resolution number 20007, reducing the authorized grant amount from $365,782 to $362.16 $85 from the Urban Renewal Agency City Rise Program to the Mount Vernon Department of Planning and Community Development.
So move.
Second.
On the question?
Did we have a discussion about, I guess, the reduction, the reason for the reduction in that amount?
Yes.
Did I miss that?
No, but just so you're clear, so there was some, so yes, the reason for the reduction was because the amounts that are actually originally given changed, right? And they changed in order to be compliant with civil service and the union's pay scales, right? So they may have higher amounts that did not line up with the steps in the pay scale. So those adjustments were made to ensure that it was accurate.
Okay. Roll call. Okay. Chair Sean Patterson Howard.
Aye.
Vice Chair Lisa A. Copeland.
I'm sorry, wait, do we do a motion?
Yeah.
To-
We spoke on the question.
Okay. See, that last meeting wore me out.
Oh, really? Almost right.
I'm sorry.
Treasurer Darren Morton.
Aye.
Member Brian G. Johnson.
Maybe we'll argue, that might make you feel more normal.
Member Deborah Reynolds.
Not present.
Not present. Okay. Number 7 is old business. Number 8, new business. Okay.
I'm sorry, well, actually, old business, I don't know if I covered it, but just so you know, and then we said it before, the next up is the audit for 2017. For right now, that is on hold because one, the auditors are also completing the 16 with the city, and 2, remember we had the discussion in the previous meeting about, payment to the auditors, which we have to resolve, for Connor Davies, as well as also we have to resolve for Rossi and Company for the programs.
You have legislation.
We have legislation for Rossi and Company. We don't have any legislation for Connor Davies.
And Rossi has to go before the Board of Estimates and Contracts. It was never approved.
So unfortunately, in 2019, there was legislation that went before the city council and it was passed. But it was never brought before the Board of Estimate and Contracts in 2019. And so while we have finished the 2016 urban renewal audit months ago, we cannot move forward and we cannot get the 2017 and 2018 final balance sheets and reports from Grassi, so that when O'Connor Davies is ready, we can hand that information over to them so that they can complete the audits. So we will go back and do in 2020, and the end of it, and maybe we need to make sure that's on the next Board of Estimate meeting, and if we need to call it special or anything, so that we can get that pushed through and not have another year where that's not taken care of. Because that should have been addressed in the end of 2019.
And what's it, 60,000?
No, I think that's different, that's what Connor did.
That's the Connor Davies.
Okay, that was it.
Thank you, everyone.
Make a motion to adjourn.
First, I want to say to everyone on the record, thank you for a very professional and very civil and very informative meeting. Everyone have a wonderful Hanukkah, Christmas, Kwanzaa, and New Year.
I move to
Second.
Call the roll call.
Okay. Chair Sean Patterson Howard.
Yes.
Vice Chair Lisa A. Copeland. Treasurer Darren M. Morton.
Yes.
Member Brian G. Johnson.
Yes.
And Member Deborah Reynolds. Not present.
Meeting adjourned.